Good morning, council and staff and presenters and members of the public. Some of you may be staff that I haven't met yet, and you'll get in. Yes, Luke is saying yes. So good morning, and you will be introduced shortly. But welcome to this Committee of the Whole meeting for June 11th, 2024. And before we go to the approval of the agenda, I'll turn this over to the Deputy Mayor.
Good morning. I would like to acknowledge Wolfville is situated in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and as such ask that we conduct our business with the 7 sacred teachings in mind: truth, honesty, love, courage, respect, wisdom, and humility.
Thank you. And we have 3 sets of minutes and motions. If I could have a motion to approve the
Agenda?
Sorry, you're right. We have the agenda first.
All right. I would like to move that the agenda be approved as circulated and or amended.
Thank you. And CAO, do you have?
Thank you, Worship. And with council's indulgence, I'd like to add a legal matter for in camera that'll go in concert with the property matter that's currently there.
Thank you. A seconder for that with that addition, please. Councillor Madeira Voss, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's passed. Now we have 3 sets of minutes. First one is for Special Committee of the Whole minutes, which was version 4 of the budget, May 3rd, 2024.
I would like to move that the minutes of May 3, 2024 Special Committee of the Whole meeting be approved as circulated and or amended.
The seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Butler, are there any additions, errors, omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Those are passed. And Committee of the Whole minutes for May 7th, 2024.
I would like to move that the minutes of May 7, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting be approved as circulated and or amended.
Thank you. And a seconder, please, Councillor Madeira Voss. Thank you. And are there any additions, errors, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's passed. And Committee of the Whole in-camera minutes, May 7th, 2024.
I would like to move that the minutes of May 7, 2024 Committee of the Whole in-camera meeting be approved as circulated and or amended.
And a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Ingham. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Those are passed. Before we go, we have 2 presentations. I want to introduce our new planning staff, but Luke, I'm going to ask you, are you going to introduce your staff during your presentation? Yeah, okay. We'll hold that introduction till then, but I don't know, CAO or Director Lake?
Thank you, Worship, and Director Lake and I had a chat before and wanted to, and we would be remiss today if we didn't have an opportunity to introduce our new staff. And I'm glad you would ask Luke, because I was anticipating that he may introduce his staff during his presentation. But today, very fortunate to have our new senior planner, Mark Fredericks, join us here today. And I know that when Director Lake shared with us the good news that we were able to recruit Mark to our organization, he spoke extensively in terms of Mark's experience and his extensive knowledge of our area. And when I had asked Director Lake this morning about introducing Mark, he said, Rob, go directly to Mark, and he's looking forward to saying a few words and kind of sharing with council more about his background and that. So thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Mark, if you want to come up, and
yeah, thanks so much.
Oh, you've got a mic.
I've got a mic. Yeah, well prepared. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, and welcome to the morning. I think I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you folks, and want to just give you a quick background of where I'm coming from and what opportunities I've had to learn in the municipal world. I actually grew up here in Wolfville, and I'm lucky enough to still live here over on Chestnut Avenue with my wife and 2 kids and a dog, Scout. Happy to live in town and have really enjoyed the opportunities, both from a kind of quality of life perspective and also living in a wildly exciting town and a place that's growing and changing so rapidly. I have a personal kind of interest in parks and natural transportation and housing. I come to the municipality here coming from West Hants most recently and spent about 13 years in Kings County before that. So I've worked in local municipal government for a number of years now and had an opportunity to learn a variety of things about kind of urban design issues and also rural and agricultural issues as well. So come with a variety of perspectives and some background on those things. So I'm pleased to join the team. I've been working with Devin and Lindsay and Marcia and the team for a couple of weeks now, and really excited for the opportunity. And I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. We are delighted to have you, and I think I can speak for all of council. We're looking forward to working with you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay.
So restrained.
We are really happy. All right, we have two presentations, and Emily Boucher, who is the CAO of Valley. I think that should be Regional Enterprise Network, although I'm sure that Luke and Nick would take you to as part of the Recreation Enterprise Network, but that is Valley Regional Enterprise Network. Emily is the new CEO and is going to bring us an update. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks so much for having me, Mayor Donovan and Council. I really appreciate the opportunity to present this morning on updates. And I will say, I'll preface this by saying I'm 2 months into the role. I am the new CEO for Valley Ren. I'll just provide a little brief overview on who I am. I'm originally from Annapolis Royal. So from the Valley, this place means a lot to me. My mom's an Acadia grad, so Wolfville also is very close to my heart. My background's in the tech sector and industry advocacy and workforce development. And I was thrilled to take on this role with Valley Ren. The Wrens do across the province do great work. So I'm really pleased to be part of this organization and to help contribute to growing the economy here in the Annapolis Valley. As I was mentioning to Councillor McKay, there's no better place to be than the Valley, and we want other folks coming in and continuing to grow this beautiful region. And I think that I will also preface this by saying this is my first council meeting as CEO. Mayor Donovan, I think I was a week into the role, and you provided me with an incredibly warm welcome and invited me to present to council today. So this is my first council meeting, and I'm new to this. So let me know if you have any questions at all at any time. And I know I have 10 minutes, so I'll keep this as brief as possible for the overview, but really encourage questions. I'm a big fan of an open door policy, so clear communication I really appreciate. So I'll just move the slides forward. Just a highlight of our municipal funding partners. So Valley Ren, as the regional economic development organization, we cover municipalities from West Hants all the way down to Middleton, and also include Glooscap First Nations. So a bit of who we are. I know most of you know who we are, but I will provide a refresher. We are the designated regional economic development organization for the Annapolis Valley, and we actively address economic and business development needs and carry out the region's economic development strategy. And you may be familiar with our latest strategic plan from 2021 to 2024. So we're just finishing that up. And in the process of launching a new strategic plan going forward, a huge chunk of that will be a continuation economic development. There's a lot of long-term, multi-year initiatives. So I will get into that in a little bit, but if there are any questions on that, please let me know. But really our goal is to ensure that we are creating the conditions to be population and investment ready. I will be highlighting some of the initiatives that we've undertaken over the past year, noting I've been here for 2 months. So if you do have any questions, I don't have all of the details, but I am getting up to speed on them as much as possible. And you'll also note in our actually most recent business plan, which we've just been finalizing, our 3 priority strategic areas include economic growth, population growth, and regional growth. And I'll get into those in a little bit. And I have that outlined here as well, but really under economic growth, we focus a lot on BRE, so business retention, and expansion initiatives with our Business Now initiatives, and ensuring that we're helping businesses in our region navigate all of the resources available to help them grow and expand here in the Annapolis Valley. So as part of that, we're working on large scale and multi-year initiatives. I'll talk a bit about sector development, in particular tourism, ag tech or agri-tech, and I would say agri-food tech, which we'll get into in a little bit, and manufacturing as well. Population growth. Many of you may have met our immigration and settlement navigator, Kathleen Novelia. I'm pretty sure she has met every single person in the Annapolis Valley at this point. She is a force, and she has been providing incredible resources to our community, both with businesses and individuals, to navigate immigration and settlement services. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the data points tied to that. Also ensuring that we're working on labor market hiring challenges with businesses in the region. So workforce development strategy, that's another piece under the population growth sector. Regional growth, really our focus as a regional organization is bringing together our partners, our communities in the province to look at opportunities to collaborate and grow within our region. Again, I'll bring up some of the work that we're doing tied to tourism. And it really, I will note that during my first 2 months in this role, the first month in particular was really focused on me getting to know the team, getting to know the internal workings of Valley Ren, getting to know the landscape, what's working well, what's not, any areas for improvement, that sort of thing. And also meeting regularly with members of our liaison and oversight committee. So I've had the opportunity to meet with Mayor Donovan and Rob and a number of other individuals on our LOC, and also connecting with councillors as much as possible and hoping to do that much more frequently in the future. But again, getting a sense of the landscape and again, what's working well, any areas for improvement. And I will say one of the biggest trends was we need to continue to communicate all of the work that's being done. And I will say one of my observations thus far is that there's so much work being done that can sometimes dilute the communication of what we're doing. So really a focus on sharing all of the work and the progress that's being done, particularly on those large scale multi-year initiatives, because they take a longer amount of time. So I will get into that in a little bit too. And I just wanted to highlight some of the stats tied to some of the initiatives that we have underway. So as part of our Business Now initiative, you're going to see we have experienced growth in the number of businesses using our services. So our most recent stats is that we did engage with 92 businesses through Business Now. And I was looking at the stats to look at specific municipalities. And I think of the 92, about 15 to 20% were in the Wolfville area. So that is actually fairly significant with the overall percentage. You'll also note that we have a new initiative with open house hours. So we're trying to, our office is based in Kentville, but our goal is to be as accessible and as visible as possible with each of our municipal partners. And the date there is incorrect, so my apologies. We actually hosted it yesterday with WBDC. So Kyle Walsh, our Economic Development Officer, held open house hours with WBDC to ensure that individuals who may not be able to make the trip down to Kentville to our office, that they're able to access those business services as much as possible. So this is a new initiative and something we want to encourage and continue to do. But any questions around that, please feel free to let me know and reach out. Another initiative tied specifically to Wolfville is that we purchased a booth for 1 year to offer local businesses the opportunity free of charge to promote their products and services. So that has been ongoing, and my understanding that it's being used. I think we need to pick that up a little bit, but it's a great opportunity. I was talking to the owner of Expedition Coffee, who's used that booth and the benefits of being able to be in that environment and share, especially for newer businesses, the opportunity to showcase their product. Another big initiative, and this is one of our larger scale multi-year initiatives, is our Guru site selector tool. And this is an investment ready site selector tool. I'm very interested in meeting with you, Mark, actually in the next little while, because what we've developed, and this is the first tool of its kind, east or in Atlantic Canada, I should say, but east of Ontario. It basically showcases various layers for development opportunities. So if you're a developer or a business looking to expand, you can use our site selector tool to identify areas to develop businesses or purchase properties. So I'm just going to show that's an example of some of the commercial properties and the zoning that's highlighted in that tool. If you haven't had an opportunity to have a demo, we did do a soft launch of the product in March and April. And I will note this, saying that this is an evergreen product. We need to continue to grow. We need to continue to add layers to it. We will be developing an advisory committee. So Mark, you may want to be part of that, actually, working with our partners to ensure that it continues to be as effective as possible. We've also just recently added analytics tools to this. So over the next 6 months, we'll be able to gauge how it's being used and who's using it, and to be able to target and promote it accordingly. So there's a lot of work still to be done on this, but the potential for this is significant. And I will say, coming on as the new CEO and having a background in the tech sector, this was the one tool I was like, sign me up. This is so exciting. The potential for this is significant. And the potential for provincial organizations like Invest Nova Scotia to have this specifically for the Valley to promote us as an entity at, you know, international trade missions. This is a really cool tool. And just a brief overview on sector development initiatives. You may be familiar with our STAR program. We recently announced additional funding from ACOA to continue the implementation of this plan. This really is to create an entity focused on Annapolis Valley tourism. So we're facilitating those conversations and the phase to actually create an entity that moves on from us. So we're part of that facilitation, and then it moves on to creating its own entity. We are hiring a tourism strategy manager. You may have seen our post. Deadline is June 21st, who will be leading the implementation of that. So that is significant. We have not had a designated destination management organization for the Annapolis Valley region in more than a decade. This enables us to work effectively as a region to promote the Valley. And that's, you know, in comparison to Cape Breton and Halifax, we need to make sure that we're promoting all of the incredible assets in this region. As part of our tourism efforts, the members of our team were also accepted into the Grossmorn Institute for Sustainable Tourism initiative, where they are training, and part of their training is on sustainable tourism. We'll be able to provide that training and insight on that to our municipal partners in the near future. So that's ongoing as well. And we've also launched a masterclass Train the Trainer initiative called Awaken, which is focused on supporting sustainable tourism with tourism operators in the region. So we are partnering with Acadia on that. So that's exciting, and we'll be launching in July. And next phase, sector development, ag tech. This is a big one, and another one coming from the tech sector that I'm particularly fond of. This started and was launched as part of our MIT REAP initiative. And the concept of that was initially to develop an accelerator and ag tech corridor in the region. Those conversations have been ongoing. A number of reports have been completed. I've read 2 of them thus far. We are expecting a 3rd report on next phases, because some of the conversations around that have moved from an accelerator model to an incubator model, which is slightly different. So we do have a concept paper that's being developed that we'll be sharing with our partners for feedback on that approach. So we're weeks away from that. Next sector development piece is manufacturing. Just wanted to highlight that we work very closely with CME, and we've just been in discussion as of last week surrounding their Institute for Operational Excellence and initiatives to support increased advanced manufacturing, peer-to-peer business supports around manufacturing. That includes the likes of Michelin, Eden Valley Poultry, and some of those larger manufacturers, but also looking at how they could support smaller businesses as well. So that's very exciting. More information on that to come as well. And how am I doing for time, Mayor Donovan? Speed it up? I'll speed it up a little bit. So I'm just going to highlight, because I've already mentioned that you probably know Kathleen. We have developed, and I say we, she's been a force, has developed 8 welcome groups to support newcomers to our communities. There is a welcome network in Wolfville. There's also one in Canning and Greenwich, and they've been really effective to support newcomers to ensure that they want to stay here in the beautiful Annapolis Valley. We also have a connector program that connects new graduates to business leaders in the region, and that's also been another effective model for ensuring that recent grads also want to stay, work, live here in the Annapolis Valley. And that is part of a national program. So we do work with a number of other RENs across the province, as well as other national networks. Another big piece, as I already mentioned, communications. We're really focused on increasing that so that our partners, our communities know what we're doing as an economic development organization, particularly around those larger items that take longer to produce, ensuring that you're up to date on progress along the way. And you may have received multiple emails from the team and a reminder from me yesterday, actually, about our AGM. We'd love to have you there. June 19th at the Bent Ridge Winery in Windsor Forks. There will be a very detailed presentation from our team on our initiatives. So it's a great opportunity to learn more in-depth information on all of the activities underway, but also a great opportunity to meet all of our other municipal and provincial partners and business owners in the region. And I just wanted to take a moment too, this is also highlighted in our business plan. And this is something I will say coming into the organization new, and also a big fan of fund development. That's been a big part of my role in the past. I was incredibly impressed to recognize that from 2019 to 2024, Valley Ren leveraged an additional $1.9 million in project funding to support economic development in the region. So from a return on investment perspective, that's significant. It means for every dollar, Valley Ren was able to increase that by nearly $16. That's significant. So quite impressed from my perspective. Love to obviously have feedback on some of the projects underway that help support economic development activities in the region. I think I fit that in. So I wanted to open it to questions. And again, I'm still fairly new, but hopefully I can answer as much.
We'll be gentle.
Thank you.
Any members of Councillor Madeira Voss?
Thank you for that, Edna. That was very, very good. Great overview.
Oh, thanks.
I'm very interested in that Guru platform that you talked about.
Yeah.
How does one access that?
It's actually on our website. So you will see a tab that says Site Selector Tool. And I didn't talk about this in the initiative. We're actually doing a website audit right now. We will have our website is being updated over the next couple of months. So right now you can access that on there. We are going to highlight it even more as part of the new website. But you can click right on it and you will have access to that tool.
So it's open to anyone in the public?
It is open to anyone.
Okay.
That's
great.
right. And if you would like, I will preface this also by saying that if you would like a one-on-one session and a tutorial, because we are working on tutorial videos as part of this, please feel free to reach out. Kyle Walsh has been very open about providing tutorials on this so folks can get a chance to see how it's used.
Okay, thank you. Other Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Emily. It's nice to get that kind of an overview because it's all fresh to you. You're discovering it as you're passing it on to us. So it's very active. And I want to say how much I appreciate your emphasis on communication because it's vital. It's like that simple. So to that end, I have to ask, what is an acronym CME in the manufacturing
sorry.
section?
That's-
I'm like,
I should have highlighted that. Speaking of communication, it's the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. And we work with their Nova Scotia division, and they are the industry association for manufacturers and exporters in Canada.
Okay.
So they work very closely with the likes of Michelin and really any manufacturer in the region.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay. Any other members of council's questions for Emily? Thank you very much. Most appreciated. I look forward to seeing you on the 19th, if not before, and hopefully some other members of council will be able to join.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you all and really appreciate the opportunity to connect.
Thank you. You are welcome to stay as long as you
I
want.
would
You are
stay till
also,
10.
you may also, no, don't feel badly if you have to leave because you have a busy schedule, I'm sure. So our next presenter is Luke Moffat, no stranger to us, but he may have some introductions to people who are somewhat strangers to us. Go ahead, Luke. And that is the recreation program update.
All right, are we ready to go here?
We're ready to
Okay,
go.
awesome.
Should we stand up? And in the past, we've had to do.
Okay,
jumping
is
jacks
this good?
and stuff.
Or you can use.
Yeah, I might do that, so I'm not hurting my back.
Turn some on.
Oh, perfect. That's what everyone was signed up for this morning.
Only I can hear it.
Okay, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for bringing us in this morning. So my name's Luke. We'll introduce, so this is Callie. So she's doing her co-op with us this summer as special events and program, something along those lines. So she's going to be helping us with all the different programs we have going on and events this summer, with a focus just kind of on the try-its and really hands-on with the events and everything. Some of you may recognize Melina. I don't know if we did a presentation last year or not, but she's coming back this summer as camp coordinator. So she was here last summer, really excited to bring her back and oversee and work with the camps for the summer. And we're going to get into what we're going to be doing, what's going on this summer, recreation wise, both camps, events, and programming. So that's kind of why we're here today. And yeah, we can open up to questions at the end. Yeah, I guess we'll just kind of get into it.
All right, so what I've been working on recently is the Tried and Wolfville programs. So we conducted a survey for Wolfville residents and have used their feedback to plan this summer's try-its. So far we have 3 scheduled, and then we're also working on some other ones that will happen throughout the summer. So the first one that we have happening this Thursday is an introduction to animation. So we're gonna have some clay animation, some flip books, and just let participants learn about some other types of animation. And then we'll also be hosting a Crokinole try-it. That will be happening at the rec center, and we're having folks from the Wolfville Crokinole Club come in and lead that for us. And then also hosted at the rec center, we're gonna have a Learn to Paint Watercolor. And we have one of the artists from the Evangeline Artist Cooperative coming in to lead that. Yeah, so those are our 3 planned try-its for the summer so far, and we'll have some others coming up as well. The next we have the Come On Down that will be happening for the 4th season, I believe. And that'll be happening one evening each month on Wednesdays at Willow Park from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's just a family-friendly community open mic. And participants will have 5-minute slots to perform in front of the audience there. Then we also have the Yoga in the Park happening. That'll be every Sunday morning this summer in Waterfront Park. It'll be led by a Yoga Life instructor. And then on days that it's raining, they will be held at the Yoga Life studio. And then also the Wolfville Summer Concert Series is going to be happening on Sunday afternoons throughout the summer from 2 to 4 p.m. at Waterfront Park. So there'll just be free live music for everyone to enjoy, and that's with the Deep Roots Music Festival Cooperative.
Alrighty, so now we're just gonna dive into a couple of the events and kind of special one-off type programs we're gonna be doing over the summer. So Canada Day, always a big hit here in Wolfville. This year it is gonna be at Waterfront, just given the construction and everything at Willow Park. So it's gonna follow a pretty similar schedule to years past. We're gonna have opening remarks and O Canada. We're gonna have Aurora the Mermaid and Billy Bones come just kind of do an interactive kind of treasure hunt. That's more focused towards getting some kids involved and just kind of keeping them happy throughout the afternoon. There will be a barbecue and cake kind of throughout the whole program. We're going to be bringing in Randall House to do that again. There's gonna be the bouncy castles, dunk tank, which are always a hit for the kids. I wish I could get on there too, but they they have that weight limit now. So live music. Who's the band there, Nick? Yeah, mine is still his comment. But yeah, there's gonna be some live music going on there too, just to kind of keep the vibes high all day there. And then henna as well. So that's kind of what our Canada Day event's looking like as of now. And then Mud Creek Days, so we're excited to bring back Mud Creek Days again. So it's gonna kick off similar to last year with the street party on Main Street. So we'll shut down Main Street again. Have live music, have henna, chalk art, some kids activities, some characters, just kind of different activities all kind of scattered around the street, and just kind of invite residents and tourists alike to just kind of come and hang out on Main Street, listen to some music, go to a patio, whatever they feel like doing that night. It's always a fun time. So the big day is on Saturday. So it's going to start with Mudley's birthday party, similar to last year. We're gonna have cake, the bouncy castles again, some face painting, just some sort of kids activities. The mermaid and the pirate are gonna come back again and just kind of facilitate things kind of throughout that morning. There will be a barbecue again for people that want some hot dogs and burgers. So the mud challenge, the location's still kind of to be determined. We're hoping that the VIC in the Willow Park area is available, because they seem to be kind of moving pretty good, but we'll see. If not, we're working on some backup plans about where that can take place, but we are gonna keep that on this year for sure. So last year we did a kids challenge, and it worked out really well. Just letting the kids kind of get dirty in the mud is always fun. And then the big one, the adult one, we're gonna be more focused this year, trying to get a lot of teams signed up early. I don't know if council wants to put a team in maybe, but it could be an option. It's gonna be super fun. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna plan some cool stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and then that's the mud challenge, and then we'll get into the evening activities down at Waterfront Park. So we're gonna have some live music again down at Waterfront, and then the big finale at 10 p.m. with fireworks. That's kind of the big Saturday day of Mud Creek. Who's playing? Sorry? Yeah, we'll let you know. Yeah. So the Sunday, as of now, what we have locked in, you're gonna see a theme here. So this is Aurora and Stu. They're local, a couple from the community, and we're really excited to kind of partner with them on a lot of stuff this summer. As we'll get into the next few slides, there's some more stuff they're gonna be doing, but they created kind of a custom Finding Mudley type musical and just interactive play that they're going to be doing at Al Whittle. And then we're hoping to get some stuff in the morning. I've been talking with potentially the Randall House about doing a historical walk that morning. We're going to try and fill in some time in the morning as well to kind of complete the whole Mud Creek festival as a whole. But yeah, like I said, it's just an interactive kind of musical piece by a local couple in our community, and that'll be free to the public. So again, this is Aurora and Stu are going to be doing Wolfville Waterfront Dance Festival. So it'll just be kind of an afternoon down at Waterfront of just kind of musical games and activities for children. There's going to be some live Cuban music. I don't know if you've seen the guy with bongos at Clock Park some Sundays, but yeah, he really brings the energy. So he's going to kind of be the one doing some music for them. And then there's going to be dancing open to the public, just kind of show up as you please, leave as you please. But I think it'll be kind of a fun little thing down there. This is that same day. So at the end of the festival there, what they're hoping to do is raise some money for the Mudley Fund and kind of create a huge Congo line, I guess, from Main Street and just going down Main Street. I think last year they said they had 70 or so people show up. So I think they want to beat that this year. They'll be accepting Mudley Fund donations up until, and then also like at the time of the event, you can kind of donate. So I think that's a goal. We're trying to get that Mudley Fund up this year and just let some kids join programs for free. So that's going to be a big one. They really wanted to invite all of you to join the Congo line as well. So hopefully see a lot of you there. And then a new kind of thing we got going on. So we've done a lot of the different dance programs with Aurora and Stu, and they've been really popular and really good feedback. So we do find over the summer it can be hard to kind of do long-term programming where it's weekly. So like we're kind of focusing more on a drop-in session this summer. So that's kind of what this is going to be. There is going to be 30 minutes of free dance lessons at the beginning, but then it's just going to kind of be a come as you please, just enjoy like a dance session every Friday night at Waterfront. So, you know, people can bring, even if they don't want to dance, they can bring picnics and just watch the people dancing. I think it could be kind of a cool vibe down there for Friday nights. So that's 6:30 to 8:30. It's free, open to all ages, abilities, level experiences. And yeah, it's just going to be kind of drop in. And now I will pass it over to Mel, who's going to talk about our summer camps the other summer.
So we have 2 more summer camps than we did last year. We added a few more just for some more kids to have some fun. So our themes this year are going to include a Biology Explorers, a Harvest Haven, a Young Wilderness Warriors, and an Older Wilderness Warriors, a Girls for Adventure, Earth Quest Expedition, which is going to be similar to a climate change type camp, a Water Wonders camp, as well as a food and farming and fun camp. So for our Biology Explorers, we're really focusing in on Wolfville's local biodiversity, focusing on a lot of local animals that are in and around Wolfville. So we'll be taking the kids to a lot of the ponds, the bogs, up to the reservoir, and kind of just exploring a lot of the local ecosystems. So we'll be doing a lot of work with frogs and just having the kids explore and get their hands dirty. Our Harvest Haven camp is going to be focusing a lot on gardening and farming. So we're working closely with the farm down behind the Acadia Athletics Complex, where we're just going to be doing a lot of planting, harvesting, and learning about how to grow your own salad garden. Our first Wilderness Warriors, which is ages 10 to 13, is focusing in on a lot of survival skills. So we're going to be teaching them how to build a fire, build shelters in the woods, basic knot tying, and just overall working on some wilderness skills. Our Girls for Adventure camp is our broadest age range camp. It's going to be focusing on girls enjoying a week to themselves, having a good time, working on relationships and friendships, and just a safe space for girls to have lots of fun adventures. Then our EarthQuest expedition is focusing on climate change. We're just going to be doing a lot of work with the Acadia Farm again, working on sustainability. Our Young Wilderness Warriors is going to be very similar to our older Wilderness Warriors, but just with a little bit more safety precautions. And then our Water Wonders is going to be focusing on a lot of Wolfville's local water streams. So again, we'll be going to bogs on Harvest Moon, up to the reservoir, as well as going on the Harvest Moon Trail and just looking at different streams and creeks. And then our final one is Foodies for Fun, which is just going to be focusing in on buying local, the importance of growing your own salad garden sort of thing, and yeah, focusing on eating some yummy food that week. So we'll be partnering with the community oven as well for our final week. And every week for our summer camps, we're also taking them down to the KCIC. We're doing a huge partnership with them this summer just to kind of get the kids out and about for a few more field trips.
All right, that's everything we have for you. There is some other stuff kind of in the mix that we're going to be announcing soon. But yeah, that's what we got for you today. Hope you can all join for as many events and programs you can. Yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Okay,
off the
yeah, I was
bat?
going to say, don't sit down. Counselor Ingham.
Thank you for all that. It's always an exciting time of year for sure.
Mhm.
Just the first 3 Tried and Wolfville's, are they for all ages and are they at the rec center?
Yeah, all of them will be at the rec center. The first 2 are for all ages, and then the Learn to Paint watercolor is going to be more for like an adult focus.
Okay.
One just because we're going to have like an experienced artist come in to teach it, and he's just wanted to do it.
And is there a limit of how many people you'll take on those?
Mostly we're just going to do around like 15 people, just because that's the amount of people we can fit at a big rec center space.
And the salsa, do you need to come down with a partner or you can just show up?
No, you
You
can
just
just,
show up,
I think, yeah, they just want as many people as you can there. So it could be a way for like people to just go and meet other people. Yeah, you can kind of go solo if you
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Okay, no, that sounds-
Yeah.
Thanks for all that.
Other questions? Thank you so much. It sounds like
Thank
a
you.
really fun summer
Oh,
for all
yeah.
of us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Thank you. I'm, yes, could Laura, could we do that? Sure, that'd be great. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, thank you. All right, now we have public input, and for those who might be here for the first time for public input, you will come up to the our little podium, and that staff can help lift it up or take it down if it's so it's the right height. Please give your name. You may speak to council on anything, following appropriate rules of decorum and speech. And you have 5 minutes. I do have a timer, and I will kind of at 4 minutes, I'll do the Queen's wave or something. And then Laura, I know we have some people in the gallery who want to speak. Do we have anybody who's coming soon? So who would like to speak first? Ms. Markham Star, please come up, and if you just state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes. And
Starting
you're in.
now.
Starting now.
Well, I'm Susan Markham Star, and I know most of you from other parts of my life. But today I'm speaking as a property owner of 35 Olson Drive. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone other than myself, although I suspect there are some of my neighbors who would agree with me. I guess I'm also speaking as a person who spent a third of my professional career as a park planner and a park planning consultant who's now well retired. However, in 1991, I was chair of the Wolfville Recreation Commission, which by legal standards was not a commission, but that's a whole other story. And the Olson Park area was offered to the town as part of the required open space. And I recall standing on the bridge of Olson Drive, or of Olson Park, looking around and saying, oh my God, what a glorious space. And given the kind of development that was being promoted at that point, there was also not a hope in hell I was ever going to get to live there. Things changed. 2000, my husband and I purchased the lot that's 35 Olson Drive. And in those past 24 years, we've seen many years of benign neglect of Olson Park. About 2 years ago, I concluded that perhaps benign neglect was a good thing. The park suffered damage over the years. The pond filled in, as dredged ponds tend to do. Things grew, things that were kind of neat grew. There were a couple of hurricanes that came through, which some might consider a distressing thing. That's a word that comes up often, pardon me, in my next words. But worse than the distress of the hurricane were the 18 months of efforts to clean up after the various hurricanes. The distress was not the hurricane damage, that's nature. The distress was at the human efforts that included the machines that came in to move logs in December 2022, the chipper that got stuck in the mud and left ruts that made the park inaccessible in 2023. Although there were staff assurances to me that cleanup would happen, but it didn't really ever happen as cleanup. This 2023-24 winter's 3 days of chainsaws demolishing fallen trees were followed by 3 days of a chipper running 50 feet from my house. You can imagine what the sound in my house was. It all created a scene that if a developer did this, the compliance officer would probably be hot on their heels for the desecration of an urban space. My career as a public service planner should temper my view of the work and the workers that were doing it. But 6 days of chainsaws and chippers and the creation of an absolute mess made me a tad edgy and angry and distressed. And all I could think of was, who authorized this? Which 4-letter word should I use? I've written down mess. Can't blame the workers. They were doing what they were told, but who in heaven's name told them to do it? I was told that a tree consultant was involved. And if the tree consultant really did authorize this and suggest this, I guess maybe I should just back off. But what I saw, I can't believe that a tree consultant actually authorized that. There's a bunch of correspondence to and from staff in both December of 2022 and January of 2024, where in each of those sets of communication, I was told that someone from town, Public Works, would contact me for a chat. I'm still waiting. I think the council should make a field trip to Olsen Park. I know you were all there several years ago, and it bears very little resemblance to what you saw when you visited several years ago. And what's really distressing to me, and this is a personal message, is that the park that featured highly in my husband and my decision to buy the lot and build in Whispering Creek, to which I used to go for walks 2 or 3 times a day, and where I would watch creatures climbing in the interesting deadfall from those hurricanes, I don't go there anymore. It's ugly, it's wretched, it's horrible, it's mutilated, and it's distressing. And that's it.
Thank you, Susan.
And my timer says I did it.
You did. You did.
Which some of you will understand is a miracle.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Well, I will
No, we don't.
leave
do
it to you.
questions. Is there anybody else for public input? Sorry, no. All right, thank you. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go. I think that this topic will come up shortly, very shortly when we get to the CAO's report. I have some comments as well made. All right. There's no one, and there's nobody online, no one else for public input. It brings us to committee reports internal, and I see that there are none, which brings us to the CAO report. I'll turn this over to our interim CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. And before I go into my report, I just noted that Mr. Jason Hahn, who's from our municipal services rep from Municipal Affairs, is with us today. And Jason has really truly been a real friend and resource to municipal administrators throughout the province. When people hear the comment, I'm from government and I'm here to help, sometimes people think that's tongue in cheek, but this guy actually walks the talk. He's extremely resourceful. He's accessible. He's been on that phone a friend list innumerable times for many of us. And I talk about us, I don't mean administrators, but also directors of every portfolio. And to ensure that we are getting it right relative to the MGA. I know that he routinely follows council proceedings at council meetings and COW meetings. And so I just want to acknowledge him. I haven't seen him since my return from retirement in my role as interim CAO, but very gratifying to see him here today. So thank you for indulging me with those few words for Jason. Certainly, there's a number of topics that are covered off in the CAO's report, and certainly subsequent to the appointment of our new CAO and Mr. Glenn Horn coming to join us in the middle of July, I've had occasion to already be in touch with Glenn and starting the onboarding process and sharing with him some of the council's priorities, some of the sensitivities of our citizens, some of the focus areas. Certainly, we're moving forward through a busy time of year. We've been in transition for a period of time, and I've been having some excellent discussions, and we've actually got some times that we're scheduling in the future to ensure that when he arrives here on July 15th, that he'll have a more fulsome understanding in terms of the needs of our community and the needs of our organization and of council's priorities. Certainly, there's an overview here relative to the arrival of e-scooters, and while I know that many members of council had been asked innumerable questions relative to the regulatory requirements of operating the e-scooters. There was a real acknowledgement relative to the benefits and the entrepreneurial interest of advancing these in the community. But like any new initiative, often there's unintended consequences associated with a number of issues that I know that members of council have fielded inquiries. And so there's an overview of that information as well. And certainly not the least of which would be accessibility concerns when our citizens are walking the streets. And for those that maybe unwittingly don't understand they can't be going on the sidewalks with the scooters and so forth, and it causes issues for our citizens and so forth. There's an overview there relative to the tennis court repairs, and that information is forthcoming. Certainly, when one looks at the splash pad at Willow Park and also the parking lot on Main Street at 292, those are expected for completion by the end of July and so forth. So I know that the opening of the splash pads will be welcomed by our citizens and their little ones and so forth. There's also, I know in my short period of time with our organization, the importance and the discussion relative to wayfindings. I know that Councilor McKay has often spoke of this and the opportunity to advance and move forward with wayfindings, working in concert with WDBC, and in particular, putting up some temporary signage up around Reservoir Park and trailside for the reforesting pilot and so forth. Certainly a number of on the active transportation final package is complete and is going to be issued shortly. I know that Director Lake has been working on the Joint Regional Transportation Authority and the great work that Mark Peck has been doing in his leadership role there. As well, Director Lake has also been working with Acadia University relative to exploring revenue generation opportunities as part of their task force. And then when we look at the work that Lindsay and Barb and Devin have been doing relative on the Housing Accelerator Fund, and they've all continued to invest in their careers in terms of broadening their knowledge by participating at the U of T as part of the Leading Urban Change program there. And again, there's a number of initiatives relative to that have been outlined here, including the overviews relative from IT and finance and compliance with the work that's being done there, the work that Laura and Barbara are leading relative to the election preparedness. And I know even most recently, communiques gone out to council to help to inform what should future communications look like for those who have aspirations of serving in public office. And again, we also have information here on accessibility and inclusion, as well as the upcoming events. And while the CAO report touches on many, many factors, I'm also mindful that there's always key pieces of information that council may wish to unpack. And certainly, and staff is here to speak to any of those interests that council may have relative to the information contained in the report. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Interim CAO. Are there any questions of the CAO or through the CAO to staff? Councillor Ingham?
Thank you. That was a great report, Rob. I just have a question about the e-scooters, or more of a comment. So a few of us attended the Town and Gown, and Jody and Caden and I had an opportunity to speak to one of the owners of the e-scooters, which is much bigger here, and gave us some great ideas. But I do want to thank Devin, because when it came out, we were not aware of it. And so I mean, I think it was a Monday, and all of a sudden they're all over the place. So I have noticed that they're not blocking for accessibility issues, which is a big issue even down in the States where they're all over the place. And the helmets are sort of problematic. I'm not sure. He didn't really know anybody that can enforce the helmets, right? And so that's sort of problematic, but I noticed they're not on the sidewalks as much. Just to have ongoing information would be really good. So I do want to thank you for that, because it was good to pass on to the public. I think it would have been good if he had held an open house to sort of describe what they are, so people of all ages can sort of drive them. We got on one and I was like, I'm sort of afraid. They also had bikes down there that were really interesting, and students or the general, residents or population in here could use them to actually for active transportation, right? So it's harder on a scooter to use them, but the bikes were really interesting. So I don't know if that's something that he could look into. The other question is I know that you mentioned that it was a pilot project. How long, and he is a student. I think you did mention that. So how long would is that going to be on?
I think we'll evaluate after the end of this year. And we've asked Brendan, and I'll just be honest, the launch was not smooth from my perspective. And so I've talked to Brendan, I've spent quite a bit of time with Brendan, and Lindsay and I are working with him on giving us more like a weekly update that we can share with council, because there are a number of action items that we're expecting him to carry out. And also the other side of it is trying to support a young entrepreneur with a great idea. And we've heard a lot of really positive feedback about these. So yeah, I think if we can keep providing updates, council can help carry the message, and we can support Brendan, and hopefully this is a success.
Counselor Palmer?
Thank you. Right in the same vein, I guess the question I would have for the e-scooters, for the helmets and the sidewalk, violations, are these things that Caden can write tickets for or not? Because it's motor vehicle. Well, that's America. What's this? Oh, who said no? Caden?
Hayden's, yeah, we asked them.
So he can't write any of those tickets.
That's
So
fine,
it's
right.
only the RCMP.
We'd have to ask them specifically, but I think that's what he did tell us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could, but he needs to get another level of certification.
And along the lines of Ms. Markham Starr's request, when do we expect to have the report on what's going to happen with Olden Pond? 'Cause that's in process. I'm sorry?
I have some information and I'm going to deal with that shortly. Counselor McKay.
I just further to Jen's comments, we did talk about it, and one of the things they did do to try and get people to not park on the streets was take off. I'll call it a parking lot for scooters. I don't know what else to call it, but it was literally just take off and you had to take a picture when you were done. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Take a picture of when you parked it in the box, you had to take a picture and then you stopped being charged. But it kept running unless you parked it in the box. Like, I'm sure that doesn't work everywhere, but there were those kinds of things happening. And the name of that company was VEO. Yeah. Right? VEO? Yes, I actually took the pamphlet, but they were pretty neat and we're open to asking lots of questions or answering questions if we had them to follow up on, but I concur with Jen. The bikes were also really neat and much easier to ride if you were balance challenged. Balance challenged. I was trying to think of the word. Yeah.
So if they kept running, you'd continue to be charged? Is that
I
understanding?
think that's what we said. You had to take a picture and put it in. Now, I'm sure there's a limit to what they charge you, but maybe it was a fine, but they charged you something for not parking in a box. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think that they were so well used that they
Yes.
weren't all over the place, which was really nice. They had been taped off in so many areas, but Jody's right that you do take a picture and it does stop charging. So it is an incentive to sort of go. So I mean, if we had them in Wolfville in certain spots, then that might be beneficial for everybody, not just to have them up against a stop sign or somebody's lawn.
Yeah.
But it has improved since they rolled out, but I think we can even do better. Yeah.
Counselor Butler.
Just sort of to keep that conversation going. I had a couple of residents just ask me in general about it. It was obviously not executed the best way. And until every sort of T is crossed, how are the scooters actually allowed to be no one's wearing a helmet that I've seen. They're obviously driving on the sidewalk because they're all parked on the sidewalk. So if those are things that are actually against the law, how is the program actually, until those things are implemented, until there's actual parking spots for them, and how is it allowed? It's just I didn't have an answer for them. I was like, I have no idea.
So when I was teaching at Acadia in the fall, there's a number of students that have these scooters. And so I was talking with Acadia in the same type of manner where they were asking the same type of questions. And I went back to them and I said, well, are we not allowing bicycles on campus? So these are regulated under the Motor Vehicle Act essentially as a bicycle. There are people in town driving on sidewalks with their bicycles. I certainly did with my children when I was biking around town, taking them to the Wolfville Children's Center and different things. And I think some of this is an iterative piece of learning that Brendan needs to be accountable for because this is a business. And so that's sort of the comparison between some of the things that are happening now and what Brendan needs to be coming back to us with. As I've outlined, I think quite clearly, because there is a regulatory aspect to this. And so it is regulated on the Motor Vehicle Act. There's lots of people cycling around town without a helmet on as well. So this is.
They're not business owners though.
Exactly. And
this is a business.
This is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't
And so we're working with Brendan. We're told that the helmets are being attached to the scooters.
Okay.
That's outlined in the information that I'd passed on. So we're hoping that we'll hear from Brendan that those are on the scooters immediately, is what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a time frame? Like, at the moment, you can ride one without a helmet
This-
because
this
there's no
is-
helmets attached to them.
Right.
But they're being
Um,
allowed to be ridden without helmets.
I
If
can
somebody-
certainly-
If something happens, like if somebody falls off and they weren't wearing a helmet, that's on him, I understand, but,
I
yeah,
think I outlined their terms and conditions and their liability through Halifax Scooter Company and the
Okay.
information I passed on as well. So all of this is absolutely being taken into account.
Okay.
It's a moving piece. I
Yeah.
haven't had an update from Brendan since I sent you that information.
okay,
Perhaps even later today, I could follow up with
Okay.
Brendan and find out more of when some of this is going to roll out. But this isn't a unique problem to Wolfville. These scooters are being rolled
Yeah.
out all over the world.
I like them, I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic, it's just, I've seen more dangerous scenarios than positive scenarios until those things get put into place. Thank you.
I think Councillor Commodore and
Oh,
then
so-
Councillor Ingham.
Just to clarify for me, the children, or I don't know, what must be an age limit, maybe, are allowed to ride their bikes on the sidewalks? It's 14?
The size of the wheel.
Is that what it is?
So yeah, when we were talking to what was it, Vivo or Volo in Maryland, I think there was only one place that they do that in the States that's successful. The reason why the helmets are very difficult is, number one, they get stolen. Number two, people don't want to wear somebody else's helmet that just had sweaty hair, and so they encourage you to bring them. But what's happening is, all of a sudden you just don't know if you want, you're hot or you're, and you just jump on them. So that is really problematic from how he talked to us. And then I know that they follow the Motor Vehicle Acts the same as the bikes, but we do see a lot of people driving bikes without helmets too, right? And so it's really hard to police all of this. And I don't know if it's something that Caden should look into for getting, that advancement on if this goes through or not, I don't know, but.
We I understand, going to look at Councillor Madeira Voss. Do I recall from our CMP, we will have bike patrols this year?
Yes, we
And
have.
so
They've
maybe
already started
through our
those.
CMP, we can see
Motorbikes,
what the police plan
I
is.
saw him on a bike.
Yeah. No, they've started both.
Councillor McKay.
Everybody down with scooters?
Yeah.
For now. Question on the wayfinding for signage. You'll notice in my report from WBDC, there was a comment that signage at the parking where we're paving the east end wasn't great. I think Barb was kind enough to quickly send out a parking map to all the business owners. So that has been shared, which is great. But the signage, if you're not familiar, especially if you come into town from, say, Halifax and you're coming in and that says no parking, they don't really know where ATF is. So you could say that, but they don't know. So the business owners are getting some feedback of how did I know where to go? I'm late for my reservation. I didn't pick up my food. Like lots of feedback from them. So they said, even if it said like, keep going or something along that line, because people really don't know where they are. But if there was some way we could navigate people into the correct spaces to avoid parking in wrong spots and frustrations amongst people, that would be great. Or them spinning around and around, just driving around trying to figure out where they're going. But there was some frustration on that.
Is that mostly coming in from the east? Is that what you're hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Parks, go ahead. Do you want to?
Okay, right along the lines that, is there a timeline for that parking lot to be completed? End of
It
July?
is at the end of July.
On ponds, I know you're gonna have more, but the one at Reservoir too, there was a discussion about it being, we had it actually, about it not being, wonderful to swim in and that dogs and things were getting sick and drinking the water. This is only because I saw it on television, and that doesn't make it right, but they had this don't know what it's called, bubbler that they put at the bottom of. Okay, sure, aerator. I can aerate grass, but I didn't know I could aerate water. And they pump it in and it really did bring the ponds back to life and cleaned up the water and did all kinds of wonderful things in the thing that I watched. So I wondered if that was something at Reservoir, and I've been up there quite a bit actually with the dog lately. And there are definitely people swimming in it already. I'm wondering if that would be a solution to make it a little less,
Scummy.
sludgy, maybe that's sludgy. I looked them up online. They didn't look extremely expensive, but it was probably just as the one I was looking at probably wasn't the right size for that pond. I don't know how that works, but just a suggestion because I saw something on it. There is one small thing. Nova Scotia Music Week is missing from our list of events because we are a major sponsor of that. The town is, and there is no. I had a request for an agenda item on the compost pickup of grass clippings, and there's nothing anywhere in our package on it.
I thought there was a third one.
That was missing. So I would be prepared to make a motion to say, can we arrange pickup in July and November for compost or.
Why don't we deal with that under request for agenda items?
But no, that was in the last.
Oh, in the last
It was
one.
there and there's no follow-up to my
I see what you're
request.
saying.
So,
Okay.
but if we leave it too much longer, the time will have passed.
Yes, that's, it was 2 weeks.
It was last time. I already had it in there, but there was no follow-up to it.
I just want to back up one item if I may. The calendar comment, is that on our website? Is that what you meant by Nova Scotia Music Week and our
I-
events listing or?
In this listing on the CAO's report, it's just missing that one and it's in November, right after
Okay,
Devour and Between Deep. Yeah,
in the CAO
yes.
info.
But I'm not sure if it's on the calendar or not. I didn't go check that, but I just noticed it on this one just as we were going through it.
I don't have anything to say about compost.
Okay, I'm wondering if I'm wondering if CAO, so this was an item. Do you want to-
I put on last time.
As a request for.
For information, or could it be done? It did not come back, so I'm just curious
Where it is.
where it is.
Sure, and certainly I'm not abdicating of it. It stops with me. I know that our Director of Public Works, who's not in right now, was doing some analysis relative to the financial considerations. Obviously, this is something that council wants to unpack and have an informed decision relative to what are the costs. When could we get it in the queue and facilitate? We'll take that offline here if the direction of council, and we will do just that. And I don't want to overpromise and under deliver, but I'm unsure whether we'll have it all for June 25th. But I'll do our level best to try to get the information. And again, I'm not begging off of it. I'm the one responsible, but I need to turn my mind to this and figure out how we're going to do it in the absence of our director.
Sure, no, I appreciate that. I just don't want to lose sight of it because it's imminent, I guess. Like if we go way too long, it'll be all again. So, thank you.
Okay, I want to get back to Olson Park, and because we have Mark here, who I understand has taken on the responsibility of the parks plan. Am I right on that? That's what Devin told me this morning, so I guess that is true. I've had, since I got back from the conference, so over this weekend, I've had a dozen or more emails about the park. Deputy Mayor and I went over and saw it yesterday afternoon. I went over, just took my dog for a walk when I got back, and I was stunned. I'd only been gone a week, and a resident has cut down a lot of trees, just left them as brush. Behind Susan's house is a right mess. I had received earlier an email about a muskrat, which we have lots of in Wolfville. But now there are 4 very large signs, which, by the way, the color and the size would be great for crosswalks, but there's one in front of Susan's house and there are 2 behind her house. And then there's one on the other side of the pond that say kind of beware of feeding animals. And I'm getting emails asking if we have coyotes or wolves. And I say, no, it's a muskrat. So a bit of overkill there. And I wonder, I did have a brief conversation with, so Susan is right, and the residents are right. It is a very sad state. I wonder, Devin, if you or Mark could just give us a quick update on the plans for addressing some of those issues, including consultation with the community, the neighborhood.
Sure. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I did talk to our parks lead hand this morning, and the work to remediate some of that was meant to start on Monday, and we've had some staff that have been out sick, and we have a whole new parks staff. And just to back up as well, we have done some restructuring that I think everyone should be very aware of, and I know everyone is, but I think it's important, particularly when we're talking about staff, in the way we're talking today, that I think from my perspective anyway, I want to make sure they all feel really appreciated for all the hard work that they're doing. And that there's a lot of priorities and a lot of pressure on our parks crew all throughout the town. I can tell you that I've dealt with 5 or 6 issues just in the past 10 days, of similar sort of, everyone's perspective is relative, and they felt very hard done by, I would say, in terms of where things are at. So we're hoping, it was supposed to start on Monday, as I said, and we'll have a dedicated crew there to clean that up. The pieces that you're talking about, one of the bridges has been repaired and the other will carry on doing that. We also have our engineering tech deployed up there because there has been a lot of encroachment in that park. I would say from my perspective, not being involved in that subdivision, it's a really poor type of access that was taken on by the town. And if you look at some of the discussion we had in the West End, for instance, and council's insistence on road frontage through that process, it really changes the nature of a park. I've dealt with many parks that have taken on a similar path as this one, where it's been privatized, frankly. And I've spent quite a bit of time in that park recently, and it's an extension of people's backyards. There's a lot of issues that Caden is now involved in there as well. And Dave has had to move some of that to Caden because it is a compliance issue. So we have multiple staff involved. I'm very fortunate to have Mark on the team now. And so I'm trying to get him up to speed. He's been here for a couple of weeks, but one of his top priorities is having a neighborhood meeting. It's long overdue. I completely acknowledge that. And there's a couple things going on there from my perspective. One is short-term improvement to make that into a space that is clearly public, first of all. I went in there this morning at 8 a.m. and every time I go there, I have the same thought of how could anyone possibly know this is a public space? And so Mark is very aware of that. Mark's visited the site. We've also had some trail building come on, standing offer that we think can improve some of the walking conditions in there. So we're hoping to actually make some investment and show that. The other thing is actually just marking the boundary of the park. I think that's really important, and I think people need to acknowledge that it is a public space. And just finally, so long term, that space will change. It might be 15 years, it might be 10. It really depends on the market conditions and how quickly that other aspect of the East End comes on. That will have to be an engineered functional area to deal with stormwater. And so there will be a bigger change that comes to that space over time to accommodate growth in the town. Maybe there's another option that's looked at in the future, but at this point, and the work that we've done with a number of professionals as part of that East End process, there will be bigger change. So there's a couple of phases of things happening. I don't want to sound apologetic, but certainly there's a lot of staff rowing in this direction. Lindsay is also involved in wayfinding. We're doing a bunch of different signage. We've done an accessibility audit on our signage, and it's taken a little longer than expected, but that's one of the top priorities for some of our signage in the short term. So you'll see that going up this year. I think that's most of it. Sorry, I took some notes here. I just want to make sure I did cover everything. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. And I would say, I think there is an understanding that I've certainly shared that we have a lot of staff changes happening now. I think a neighborhood meeting would go a long way, and in part, it's just a feeling in the neighborhood. Full disclosure, I live also in the neighborhood, that it's a forgotten park and it is the only park really on the east side of town, not including the Reservoir Park, which is a full town park. So that will be great, Mark. I think just knowing that there will be an opportunity in the short term for residents to talk to you and share their frustrations and aspirations will be great for everyone. I'm looking for Susan to say, you think that's what neighbors are looking for? In addition to cleaning up the mess. You can't talk, but just the shake of the head. All right, thank you. Okay, I've seen two lights come on.
Mine was
Three
first.
lights. Yours was
Yeah,
first?
mine was first.
Okay.
Only because I want to,
Counselor Butler.
I want to make a conscious apology that I had no idea that Olson Park over the last couple of days was having these issues. I would have made an effort on my 2-hour walk every day to go to Olson Park if emails had been shared with us. I wish that some emails would have been shared with us outside of just the deputy mayor. This was all news. So I'm
They
sorry
just
that,
came. They just came
like this morning,
last night. Yesterday.
I would have liked to have shared a little more than what I could because I didn't know any of this was happening. So I just want to say that I will make an effort to go immediately to see the property and apologize that all this is happening.
I think Counselor Palmer, or I'm not sure who was first or second.
Carry on.
Okay. I just want to sort of clarify or maybe ask Devin a couple of questions. So this is not a natural pond, right? We all know that, right? Right. And it's infill of some kind and because I can remember skating on it not too many years ago, like 30, but it's relative. It's all relative.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't, when you're talking about developing that as a flood, I don't know what's the right word, whatever you use there, but that should be the part of the long term, what we should be planning for right now, isn't it?
We certainly, yeah, and that's why I'm bringing it up here at this meeting, because it needs to act in some way to slow water down, to get water back out to Main Street as it kind of is doing now. And I know I've had many conversations through the East End, through different neighboring properties, particularly the ones closer to Main Street, that were quite concerned about the infilling of the pond.
Yeah, we've contained most of the water coming off of the side hill now, haven't we? I mean, because that used to be drained on the field above Ms. Markenstar's place. That used to be contained with drains, but that's contained fairly well now, isn't it? I think coming off of the residence there.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor?
Not to prolong this too long, but I would like to add that I've just been aware of the issues because of Susan. And going over yesterday, there's the mud issue, there's the stump issue. But what shocked me or startled me was the invasive roses that have shrunk the size of the open area. And those roses will take over the whole place if they're allowed, which goes for all of our park spaces. They are just horrible. And they have so many seeds, and the seeds go on the wind and they start to fill in everywhere. It's been a problem down on the trail, and I'm sure parks staff know all about it. It's a huge challenge. So it was just the sort of before and after that hit me of it's filling in with those roses.
Okay, so thank you, staff, and all of us, council is welcome to go and take a walk around. I think Laura found yesterday you don't want to wear good shoes. Or new shoes, clean shoes. And thank you, staff. Is there anything else in response to the CAO's report?
Yeah.
Okay, quarter after 10. All right, we have a number of committee reports, and I think these won't take too long, and then I will ask council if they'd like to have a break after that. So the first one is actually, sorry, these will not. We will do reports for discussion. And the first one, I don't know, Laura, are you presenting all these? Who is? Beth, okay, Beth. Is the municipal fees policy. Beth.
Morning, everyone.
Morning. Welcome back.
Annually, the municipal fees policy is reviewed and has to be approved by council. Normally, it would be part of the budget process, I believe. It was not part of the budget process prior to my coming, nor since my arrival. The municipal fees have not been changed. There's no amendments pending, excuse me. We've spoken about them at management meetings. All of the fees that are current are the ones that we've used in the budget process. Staff recommends that council motions that the municipal fee policy be approved as it stands for the fiscal 24-25.
I am looking for a motion.
Oh, there is a motion on the
There's a motion.
RFP.
You handed me the sheet.
Oh, that's it.
There
No,
is a
that's
motion
not
on the
mine.
RFP.
That's
It's very
not
short.
mine.
There's a
The
motion
council
on the-
approved the municipal
Can we
fees
read it?
policy, maybe.
Okay, you have two, so this is not mine because it's taped, but I'll take it. Okay.
Yes, there will be questions. If you have questions.
All right, we do have a motion. Are
there questions?
Let's get the motion on the
Sure.
floor and then we'll open it to questions. And Councillor Madeira Voss, you said you'd like to move that?
Well, I think, I'm just wondering.
Okay.
I can do it as part of audit. I would move that committee of the whole forward the following motion to council for decision, that council approve the municipal fees policy 140-015 as attached to RFD 030-2024.
Okay, and Councillor Madeira Voss will second it. Are there any questions of staff? Yes, Councillor McKay?
Thank you. Hi. I've, I think, three small ones, actually. Just, mobile canteen. Is that per day, so it's fee canteen, so it's per event, not per day. Did I read that right? Mobile canteen, fee canteen event.
What page is that on?
Sorry,
So I'm looking at the same page.
this one says, sorry, this doesn't.
Oh, I
38.
found it.
Okay. So I don't know if that, I don't understand what that means. Fee canteen event. So what does that mean?
That would mean per occurrence. So if it's something that's put on for 2 days or 3 days, it's the one single fee for the entire period.
Event. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Boy pop fee. We had a discussion throughout, I don't know when exactly, the last year, over the fee for Boy Pop, that it was, I think it's $5 if I remember correctly, which we felt, I think we felt as a general discussion, that that was really low because it is incredibly labor intensive and absorbs a lot of staff time. I'm not sure if I'm not suggesting we change it at this moment, but could we do a jurisdictional scan to say what people do or what that could look like differently for the next budget year or back before that, whatever. But I just,
Just by way of feedback to Councillor McKay's comments to council. Certainly, should council wish to explore other options, I do know during my time in Colchester County that, well, there would always be a nominal fee for such request. There are times when the requests are quite onerous and involve extensive days on end of actually securing the information, and in some cases having to from a privacy perspective, make sure that certain information wasn't, so you had to redact a certain component to all of this. So we actually had provisions that reserved the right to actually do some type of cost recovery, but it was generally on the exception. Most FOIPOP requests were pretty straightforward, but we certainly had a number of them, in particular post the mass casualty incident and so forth, that I'll tell you, we had resources on that for days on end, you know, that. So yeah, so thank you.
yeah, I'd like to see that. I would like to see some cost recovery on that because I know previously Director McLean and now Laura has spent some time and it can be quite an onerous task. So I would be open to that. I'm not saying it has to happen now, but at some point in the next year.
I thought, we definitely talked about it, and I thought former Director McLean said that on those, that he had the option, maybe through the MGA, and that he had charged on some of the ones that were really big, and I just have that in my mind, but we certainly talked about it, and it may be a situation that we can, but we have to enact it.
That's correct, Your Worship, that in terms of, the authority having jurisdiction under the MGA, the powers you do it. Otherwise, it's codified in legislation. But there is provisions that you can do that. And I believe that's exactly how it was facilitated during my days in Colchester County.
Yeah.
So is that a staff direction that we?
Well, if everyone agrees with me, it's.
Sure.
And I think the intention as well, I think last year, the last RFD that went through in 2023 for this same municipal fee policy was that there was going to be a more in-depth. I think just with the changing of the guards with two staff positions leaving, this will be something that will be undertaken prior to the next budget process. So I think a more healthy conversation could be had at that time with any other fees that might come to mind as well.
Because as I recall that discussion, which I believe happened in audit committee, when we went over the fairly significant legal overages, some of those were connected to FOIPOPs, expensive FOIPOPs. Councillor Madeira Voss.
Thank you, Mayor Donovan. I fully agree that we should be looking at some form of compensation. But I would like to balance that with, comments around the fact that this is a Freedom of Information Act, and I wouldn't want to see those fees be onerous to the point that it prevents people who may have difficulty covering those fees from accessing that information. I think it's, we could, depending on the scale and where we go with it, it could become an exclusionary exercise where only those who can afford it will have freedom, have that act. So I just want to keep that in mind, that as we move forward, that we're not, yes, we need to be we understand, the work that it places on staff, but I think the reason for having a low fee is that because we all have freedom to access certain information, we don't want to compromise that freedom by making it financially prohibitive for people to access.
And if I could just comment to Your Worship, is that when I referenced Colchester County, I would suggest like less than 2 to 3%, because the whole purpose of having the availability is to provide that full disclosure and to support transparency and to support public trust and confidence. And so when it becomes cost prohibitive that only those with deep pockets can access information, it's counterintuitive to having good government. So when I mentioned about having it in another jurisdiction, it was very, in terms of evidence-based, where you could literally say sometimes we were getting inquiries from lawyers as part of, if you will, discovery undertakings, which brought us down into an area that none of us envisioned. But when you had that, and all of a sudden you have 2 staff members who are hunkered down for weeks on end trying to satisfy the provisions, that's the anomaly. Otherwise, so I wouldn't want to, when I was talking about Colchester, it wasn't a case that was the norm, it was the exception. For the same reasons that you just spoke of, is that it's just not a, it's counterintuitive to the purpose of having the legislation in the first place.
Councillor McKay.
Yeah, I was gonna say similar things, like it would be not. And I think the more transparent we are with what the fee might be, and if someone said, no, I don't have the ability to pay, still give them the information. Clearly, I do this at the office all the time in medical. You can have your records. We charge an admin fee to get them. That's the standard practice. But if you can't pay, we will still give you your records. Like there is a give and take about, what the freedom of that is.
Okay. We're gonna have the
I have another-
question, but I also want to know what we're going to do with the staff direction.
Oh, I thought that said that she was gonna come back with a more fulsome report and discussion prior to the next budget. Yes.
Okay, so we're good with that. All right, all those in favor?
Oh, I have another question. We had a discussion on development fees, and I was curious if our development fees were reasonable and with everybody else in the province, because I'm trying to think what session, and Jennifer was at the same one as I was, and they charged a lot of development fees, and they actually paid for parks and roads, and like they did a massive amount of things with the amount of development fees they collected.
Development charges,
Yeah.
like Ontario
Yeah.
has them and
So I was
Halifax, I think, has them.
Curious what, not that we have to answer that now, but I was just curious in like where these were all listed, what that meant for us.
So we
Mississauga City Hall.
did update some of our base fees, like application fees. Development cost charges is another story that Ontario has years of experience in. The interesting thing is now in the realm of talking about fees and housing, everything's going the opposite direction. And so development cost charges are actually being criticized in many jurisdictions. I was on a call yesterday with a bunch of people from across the country, and that was almost the whole crux of the conversation. So it's an interesting time for that, but I agree, it's great to have those.
Thank you. Question? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's passed. Okay, the acknowledgement policy, I think that's, the next three are you, Laura?
Yes.
All right, this is an acknowledgement policy, and I don't know, but both that and the proclamation seem to be
They are-
connected. So did you want to talk about them both and then we'll do a vote?
We can, they are, we talked about it at the task force meeting, whether we should have them separate or together. We initially had them as one, and then we thought it would provide better clarity if we separated them. So I'll tell you what I have and we'll see where we go. So as council are aware, the town often receives requests to share and celebrate information on significant events, dates and activities that are taking place. They come from a variety of people, organisations. This acknowledgements policy is a new policy developed to put my teeth back in, developed to provide a framework on how we as a town handle those requests and the criteria they must fall under to be considered. So some requests may not be appropriate, for example, if they're in support of a political party or an event that has no direct relevance to the town. So this policy is intended to provide a consistent method of response and a process detailing the responsibility of staff and council within that process. And the decision whether to make an acknowledgement or not is by a consensus of council. I don't know if there's any questions, but we also have obviously the members of the task force in here as
Why don't
well.
we get the motion on the floor with somebody, Councillor Madeira Voss.
You're here, sorry. I would move that we forward to council the approval of policy number 120-017 acknowledgements policy as attached to RFD 032-2024.
Seconder, please. Councillor Ingham, are there any questions of either Laura or there are four members of the committee here? So, no, any questions? Ready for the question? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's passed. Now the proclamations.
Okay, so the proclamations policy, we thought we would still remain with the policy. Basically, in the past, they've been made to raise awareness of an event or date that's significant to the town. There's no requirement for council to issue a proclamation. As we're trying as a town to be more inclusive, we found that having an acknowledgements policy was better than a proclamations policy, because one of the tools that we have is by using plain language. Proclamations are not very plain language. So the changes that have been recommended to this policy is to advise basically that the town does not make proclamations, but can make acknowledgements as per the new acknowledgements policy that's just been approved.
Okay. A mover, thank you,
can put that
Councillor
one.
Butler.
I would move that committee of the whole forward the following motion to council for decision, that council approve amendments to policy 120-014 proclamations policy as attached to RFD 033-2024.
Seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, are there any questions? I do have a question. We have and I can just think of one or two, one in particular, a town resident who does request a proclamation annually, and also involvement of the town in lighting up the town blue. There will be a few others who fall into that category of local residents. Is there a plan to communicate with those perennial
We
requests
certainly-
for proclamations?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, the policies will both be on the website anyway. And if any requests come in, then it tells you in the policy, like we'll respond to them. And
I'm just
explain it.
thinking
But
where
if you want
there's
to do
been
it
an annual
proactively,
thing
yeah.
with a town resident, and there, we could probably, that's one that comes to mind immediately.
Yeah.
There may be one or two others that we just reach out proactively to make sure that we're not embarrassed and they're not upset
Absolutely.
when the next year rolls around. Any other questions? Question? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's passed. And Code of Conduct for Elected Municipal Officials Amendment.
So as you know, this was amended back in November, December last year. After discussion around the virtual meeting policy, we wanted to strengthen the desire to, or council wanted to strengthen the desire that more emphasis be put on the importance of having council members in the town, be engaged, not be going to Florida for 12 weeks or whatever. So, so we added some extra language in there, a couple of paragraphs just to emphasize that importance, basically, that they're in the town, that they're engaged with the community.
Appreciate that. A mover, please. Deputy, or Councillor Madeira Voss.
Okay. I would move the committee of the whole for the following motion to council for decision. That council approve the amended policy number 110-011, Code of Conduct for Elected Municipal Officials Policy as attached to RFD 034-2024.
Seconder, thank you, Councillor McKay. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Palmer.
In one of the lines, I don't know, I haven't got it right here in front of me, but it says harassment is not accepted, and then you specialize and you comment including sexual harassment. Why are we including sexual harassment? Harassment is harassment. So why are we separating out sexual harassment?
I'm just going to find it on the policy here. It wasn't one of the most recent changes, so I need
Someone on the committee want to respond? Or?
Trying to think, I think it's always been there, but isn't sexual harassment a different bucket under
Criminal
law?
code.
Criminal law.
Under law, it's different than harassment.
Under criminal law.
Yeah, that.
There's a criminal element of sexual harassment. Like the other ones. Sorry, bad behavior, like harassment that isn't covered by that, but sexual harassment is specifically covered under criminal law. So that's, I think, why we've highlighted it. I think that's what it was.
It wasn't a change to this one, so that's why I
That-
probably have
that's-
pressure in our.
Yeah, that was part of it, I think, before.
Okay, Laura, did you want to, you're good with that answer? or do you
yeah,
want to-
no, that's makes perfect sense. I have it in front of me. I think it's just emphasising that they're separated out as discrimination or harassment on the grounds articulated in the Human Rights Act of Nova Scotia, or a member of council must not sexually harass any person. So it's just laid out.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Question? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That is passed. And I guess I should say, for those who are listening but not watching, all of those were passed unanimously. It is just after 10:30. I'm going to suggest I don't think we are going to go past lunch, but take a 10-minute break. I think. So we have not brought in lunch because at this point, there are snacks. We don't think we're going to go buy lunch, but David, if we could, I have 10:35, 10 minutes, so come back at 1:45. I think we are back, and Lauren noted that while we did get so I guess this is going to be a change or an addition to the agenda. We did get Nick's report as an addition after the original agenda came out. It didn't get added on to the actual front page of the agenda. So we are going to add that now as 7E, and it is the payment. It is related to the repaving of the tennis court and the additional costs. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Mayor Donovan, and apologies for the late addition. So this is in relation to we put out a request for proposals to resurface the tennis courts, which are in need of that. And we had budgeted an amount of 125,000 for this project. We did receive only one submission, and they gave a number of options with varying price levels and also obviously quality and length of warranty. So the lowest level of resurfacing was going to come in at about 90,000. We did include the posts and caps in the RFP. Upon further inspection of that, we've determined that isn't necessary, and that the surface is the most important issue to be resolved. So the second level would be just like it's an extra couple of layers of surfacing and a little bit of a different treatment that they do. That one was about 133,000, and then the highest level and we've consulted with another group in Nova Scotia that has this option is 169,000. And so the tennis club, we consulted with them just as they're the main users of the facility, and they were interested in contributing to the project to add to the town's budget, if that's possible, to get to the highest option. And so the highest option does come with a 5-year warranty as well, and the middle option was a 3-year, and the base option was a 2-year warranty. So that's important to consider. And so the request, I guess, of council, it would be to increase what we are able to spend up to. It's a total of, including HST or the town's portion of HST, of $176,250. But that would be offset by the 45,000 contributed by the tennis club. And so what that leaves us with is our original 125,000, and we would have to increase our actual spend by an amount of $6,250. Sort of. Good question.
You have a question? Let's put the motion on the floor then. Yes, Mike?
A little money. Okay, potentially spending a little money. Let me see. Okay, I would move that committee of the whole forward the following motion to council, that council approve an increase to the budgeted amount for the resurfacing of the tennis courts from 125,000 to $176,250, including HST, and allow the preferred option 2 work to be carried out. The tennis club has committed $45,000 to the cost of this work, resulting in an increase of $6,250 to the town.
And questions?
The question I'd have would be like, I don't know, 5 years from now when we have to resurface it, are we committing ourselves to doing it again at that kind of cost 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is? Or can we go back to this lower level again? Or I just don't understand quite how the mechanics work for that.
I do think that this would be a higher quality service that would hold up longer and would require sort of less remediation. It's basically 2 layers of fiberglass mesh with other materials in between those layers, and that wasn't part of how it was treated 5 years ago. So what this product claims is that it does last longer and holds together longer. So from what I know, I would think
it wouldn't be as costly 5 years out. We also do have the 5-year warranty that they would be able to come and fix any surface cracks or any defects that were to occur, so we can be proactive and stay on top of that. Yeah.
I have hit balls at the WAG, and it's really soft. I mean,
It's cushiony, yeah,
Well-
that's part of that. What the double layer does is it adds a cushion to the surface.
a lot. It's really quite impressive, actually.
Thank you. I just want to speak in favor of this, and I'm glad that the tennis club is coming up with that much money. I was pleasantly surprised to see that offer, and I think they should be commended for that. I just have a question around preferred option 2. Should it be option 3 in our motion, or is it option 2? Because I remember, it seems to me that the one that we're voting on, which includes the 45 and our 125, was that not option 3?
Sorry, that's just in reference to how they laid it out in the response to the request for proposals. Option, sorry, I don't have it on this document. Option 1 was,
So this is
so
option.
we called it the base option was the 90,000, and then option 1 as a level of improvement,
Okay.
and then option 2.
So option 2 is actually the third one.
That's correct.
Great. I just wanted to
Sorry.
clarify that.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I too am in favor of this. I am glad to see, like Isabel said, that the tennis club is contributing 45,000. That sort of goes to their all buy-in that we need to have this. I know with climate change, things are drastically changing. When do you expect this? Would this be done next year? We're in tennis season right now. Also, I mean, I walk by there all the time. The surface is, concerning. I don't see as many people out playing tennis. Is that a concern for the tennis players this year? Because the numbers look like they're down.
Yeah, so in the proposal, their anticipated date would be fall, so late September to early October kind of a thing. And I think it's about a 10-day window that they need to do it. I would say it is a concern of the tennis club that one court in particular is yeah, it's quite in disrepair, so.
Yeah, I concur. I think that it's commendable that it's not often that our community groups are offering money. It's usually us doing the opposite. So I commend the tennis club for doing that. That's amazing. So to keep on, whose responsibility is it after this every year to make sure that we stay on top of the warranty?
That would be our parks and recreation departments. The tennis club has been pretty good too we work very closely with them, so they would help us stay on top of the needs. Yeah.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Yes, I'm just gonna flip back because now they're in two different places. So this was hard to write in a report, so I just wanted to explain it. So there has been mass discussions, as you know, and we attributed extra funds in our budget to help the Trails Coalition this year. So this meeting was solely to explore the options that were listed in that document. It was agreed that options 4, 5, and 6, so some sorts of intermunicipal service agreements, in various degrees of those, like remote perhaps. Number 6 was also chosen to show how much it actually costs each individual group and what maintaining it would be, because I think it is misunderstood at how much the trails cost and how much it takes to keep them going. So we said, let's add that in so everyone has a fulsome understanding of what they were agreeing to and what an agreement might look like. So we're going to meet it's June 19th to sort of come back and revisit that. And it also is about succession planning. Rick has been doing this for a long time. He's, about to retire, maybe. Maybe he'll never retire, but he, you know, certainly could use some help, and the succession plan is really important to keep our trail system from Grand Prairie to Annapolis intact. So that was the fulsome discussion around it. Everyone seemed to buy in. Like I said, it was the biggest turnout I've ever seen. Some people I've actually never seen before. So that was really nice to see that they were really concerned about its viability when it came down to it. So we'll see what happens the next meeting, but I feel really good that in some form, this will continue on with some sort of governance and buy-in from everyone. So that was really heartwarming, actually. I think Beth was actually overcome with emotion, actually, on how much people supported the trail and her work. So, and Rick's work. So that was really nice to see.
Are there any questions of Councillor McKay? No? Okay, thank you.
I get a-
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Sorry, I'll just make a comment on that. And I mean, I think what that what the coalition provides to the taxpayers of Wolfville is a bargain, and it's a pretty impressive organization, and what we get out of that for relatively little money is pretty good.
Councillor Ingham?
Yeah, and I just want to add that we have the busiest part of the trail on this. So, and many people come to our trailhead and go from there. So it's not just in Wolfville. We have to think about the whole buy-in of the economic development of the other communities too. But we have the busiest trailhead going all the way to Grand Prairie. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor McKay, WBDC. Anything you'd like to add? AGM is tonight, 5 o'clock. Troy. Is it 4? I have 5 to 7 in my. Okay. And what's it for? Oh, yes, 5 o'clock. You'll be finished before 4. Are there any questions of Councillor McKay? Thank you. Councillor Ingham, diversity. Kings.
Yes, I wasn't able to get a report in. It's the night before, but I'm going to look to my colleagues across the table, but June is Pride Month. I'm going to try to remember. I forgot my notebook, but you can check all the events on avalleypride.ca. There are some notable ones that are happening at Acadia. It's at the very end of the month, the 26th, 27th, 28th. There is, I think my head jotted down, Acadia on June the 26th, Queer 101 for family and allies. And then Randall House is putting on Windows workshop that is more related to crafts. And then there's one in Union Street, Berwick, that's probably pretty fun to attend. Pride Performs. There's many, many others. Those are just the top of the ones that I jotted down. I'm going to look over to Councillor Butler. Jody, Mike and myself attended the Pride launch at Municipality of Kings at May the 30th. My brain's doing well, thank you. And also we at the town of Wolfville, we did our flag raising on June 3rd. And if I got that right, I'm patting myself on the back. So I'll look over if there's anything else anybody wanted to add. Unfortunately, my next report will be beginning of July. So many of this would have transpired. I can give a report on some of that, but it's not just in Wolfville. It's activities happening all over the place. So Mike, if you want to add anything that
The only thing I want to mention is there's an absolutely gorgeous poster out in our lobby here at Town Hall that I just noticed that was just put up. So there's a whole list of all the events there, stuff at the Awadill Theater. This Saturday is the Hants County Pride Parade in Windsor on Garris Street. And there's a bunch of stuff happening at the waterfront there. If you have nothing to do on Saturday the 15th, pop out and say hi. And then there's just stuff all over the place. Yeah.
No, Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Madeira Moss.
Okay. There was a Pride Parade at Wolfville School last week. And as always, it was fun and colorful. And I was part of a picture that Luke Moffat took and was posted on the town's Facebook page. And there were a number of quite hateful comments, according to Barb, as a result of a picture. So we have a long way to go to educate people, and
The kids don't though, which is
That's
what
true.
should be highlighted.
That's true. So yeah, mixed feelings.
Councillor McKay?
I just want to share too, she posted on her Facebook and Instagram posts everywhere, the wonderful Sarah Anderson from the Wolfville Wedding Chapel has a beyond binary, anyone can come and learn session. It's on Eventbrite, so you can register. It is free to everyone. So that is offered, I believe it's at Al Riddle again on Monday evening. So come on, come on.
Okay. Thank you. Should do verbal reports more often. All right. I have nothing to add on the IMSA. There is a board meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock that will, Dan McDougall will roll out the recommended governance model for the IMSA. And so I'll be able to bring that back next month. Are there any questions? IMSA? And similarly, Valley Recreation Enterprise Network, we had a great presentation from Emily Boucher this morning. Regional. I do always have recreation on my mind, but yes, it's in regional. Actually, it says Recreation Enterprise. That's what I read. I thought.
It's a Freudian. It's a Freudian.
I didn't do that. Okay, I think those are all our external committees, and I don't believe we have any, we don't have anyone in the room for public input. We have nobody. So we have two requests for agenda items. I asked the acting CAO this morning how we might want to deal with these. Sometimes we deal with them in the moment, and sometimes we forward them to the next committee of the whole, particularly if they require some additional information. So if you'd be thinking about that, the first one is one that I submitted. There's no urgency on this. It's simply a request, and I did provide a motion to provide a letter related to housing legislation. Those of us who meet bi-weekly have learned that unlike, if not all other provinces, then a majority of provinces, Nova Scotia has legislation that allows a landlord to have a, I think it's called fixed lease, which I always understood that, you know, you would have a lease for a year. But what I didn't understand is that the landlord has the right to say you can't renew. And we've had met a few people in town who hold buildings, found themselves in that situation where these were not students, they are just longtime renters, where somebody wishes to change the use or change the basically renovate their apartment building. They can just say, I'm not renewing any lease. And I think there was something in the Chronicle Herald a few weeks ago that I was sent a link to that actually happened in Halifax, and it was fairly affordable, low rent, and all residents were evicted. And basically these are some of the people who are ending up homeless and hopeless. So I'm certainly fine putting this off to the July Committee of the Whole, or we can talk about it now. It's up to you.
So just to be clear, the request is you want council to support you writing a letter? That's what. Okay.
To the
It was
process
a long
about that
request, that's all,
legislation.
so. I did read it all, don't get me wrong, but.
Or we can't deal with it at all. It's up to council. Councillor McKay?
Yeah. I mean, it's a letter. I don't know that anyone will listen to us, but you know, but I don't have a great deal of faith, let's put it that way. But I'm not sure that the levels of government are doing a fantastic job on this front at the moment. So that's most unfortunate. But I get, if you wrote a letter and just circulated it and see that it captioned everyone's feelings, it would be fine. It's a letter. I think we could do that. I don't.
So we do have a motion here. If somebody wants to move it.
I'll move it.
Okay.
Can I just ask one more question?
Absolutely.
And so the other one is I don't think you really referenced it. I mean, I'm happy to have a presentation from Dr. Sweetman. I mean, you know, that
Yeah.
second part of it, absolutely. So I don't think you discussed it, but it is in the motion there.
Right. Yes, and she has come to PAC, and she has, so maybe we can, if this motion passes, we could pass it on probably to Devon or Lindsay. I think she's come to PAC Sorry?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question about the motion specifically.
Okay.
Before it's read.
Yep.
Isabel had her, or Councilor Madeira Voss had her light on first.
I think she
Are
was
we-
going to move
Okay.
it.
Well, I was
but-
going to move it, but
Yes,
it's
but so,
really
so
long.
there's,
It was only the last.
Like a whole, it's a paragraph.
Yeah, you're getting prepared.
Like, I think it's a motion and an explanation kind
Okay,
of all in one.
so I did it quickly before I
Mm.
took off too.
I mean, I think it's just writing a
What is the
letter.
letter? And then we could give a staff direction. Dr. Sweetman has been here a few times. I've seen her twice.
Right, I see those are
Yeah.
two separate
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
So I would move that the committee of the whole for the following motion to council for decision, that council direct that correspondence be sent from council to all appropriate levels of government, highlighting the urgency of this issue or some,
Okay, that's fine.
that's it,
Okay.
right? And then,
Okay, and we can do
I
that.
still have questions, but I guess I can say them afterwards.
Is it on
Well,
the letter?
Yeah, so when I read correspondence, it sounded like it was multiple. Like correspondence to me means a multiple letters, a back of like that any correspondence we receive goes.
It means letter.
So
send
that
a
council
letter
direct
to-
a letter, yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
That works.
yeah.
Okay, so are we okay, Laura, with that friendly amendment? And we will deal with the other part in a moment. I wasn't sure we'd even deal with this today. Deputy Mayor seconded it. Are there any questions on that part of the
right,
issue
so,
motion?
no, just so that, to be clear, it ends on the second page with that first period.
Yes.
Situation for Nova Scotia, period.
Right.
Okay, that's the motion.
That's the
Right.
motion.
And the letter will be circulated and we'll just say, yeah, that's good. Okay.
Well, basically what I just said, that, you know, the significant part is I didn't know that that happened here. I didn't fully understand that. It doesn't happen in most of Canada. It used to, but it's been several decades that it has not in most of Canada, and that's scary. Councillor Palmer, do you have a question?
Well, I think there's, I think Councilor McKay kind of probably made the point. This is kind of a preview. I don't think this is really, we're only saying that we don't necessarily like them. But I think that we need to, at least I need to know more information about it because I don't know enough about it, to be perfectly honest.
Deputy Mayor?
We're meeting again on the 19th, evening of the 19th. Anybody who wants to come, Wolfville Baptist Church at 7:30.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah,
after
no,
the
I
Rambo.
realize that. I realize that, but
7:30.
that's how it falls down. We were, we're kind of a lot of privileged people in that room, but Dr. Chris Toplak brought a woman who was impacted by this fixed lease. Not very educated, not terribly articulate, but her emotional rendering of what happens to real people just makes you want to try and do something. So to me, it's quite a bit like the basic universal income that Roger Tatlock brought to us as an issue. We wrote a letter then. I see this as the same kind of thing. There's apparently in Ontario, they remedied this back in the 1960s. So it just should be on somebody's agenda.
So McKay?
So I don't disagree with helping people at all. I guess I don't know a ton about it, but I knew there was a fixed lease and that people could come out because I watched the news and that's what people said. But I don't know what landlords think about it. I have no idea what that impact is, so I just have no idea, but that's why I said I wanted to see the letter before it went, because I don't understand fully what it would say and what it would do, so.
Councillor Madeira Voss?
I think for me, this letter is symbolic. And it symbolizes the fact that our council is aware that there are people who are being negatively affected by the current provincial policy on housing and this fix. So it is important that we make a statement that we are aware of this and that this is a serious matter for many of our residents. And it's really up to the provincial government, because it is their purview, to figure out how to fix it. I think it's also up to them to consult with landlords. And, you know, we have every right to flag the fact that this is an issue. We're not suggesting what the wording should be. We're not suggesting, you know, we know that this has been addressed in other places. But, you know, basically it's time that our provincial government look at this issue. That's really, I think, what we're saying. In the same way that we wrote a letter about the basic income, which I
And the
still
wine
fully-
industry.
and the wine
which is
industry.
way out of-
This is part of our role, that we are aware of these issues, and it's just forwarding that awareness, if you like, to those who are officially responsible for doing something, because we really can't control this. But we can recognize that it's an issue and lend that support, at least at that very limited level, to the residents who are negatively affected. So I think this is a good thing.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And the other part, I agree. It was really, as I say, I was writing this before I was trying to get away. I think maybe a staff direction to staff that who are in contact with Mary and Alicia, when I know they're doing a new survey on homelessness in Wolfville and area in the fall. Their methodology is really interesting, and I just think it would be interesting for council. So if we are generally in agreement, put it out to appropriate staff, Devon, to as appropriate, either at council or at PAC.
We're meeting with Dr. Sweetman tomorrow, actually.
Good. Oh, good timing. Okay. Sweatman.
Oh, good.
It's Sweatman.
It's spelled
Sweet, Sweatman, but it's Sweetman. Yes. All right. So sorry, Isabel.
So I think this is a good idea. I would like, though, if we could add that there are other sources of information out there with respect to housing, you know, provincial government. Like I'd like us to find out more information and not just limited to this. So I guess I would add that, you know, we have updates on a regular basis that would include this information, but also any other pertinent information, be it a government or a non-NGO source, so that we have a more fulsome perspective on the issue.
I think that's a great idea, because the role of the nonprofit sector in our community and who's doing what, and seems like every month we find out that there's somebody else doing something that we didn't know about. And certainly the housing task force, I understand that's about to get underway, that they will probably pull a lot of that together. Councillor Commodore?
And in conjunction with Councilor Madeira Voss's comments, I think we should make sure we're talking to the landlords as well, because they're relevant.
Okay, Councillor McKay, grants to organizations policy. Take us through that.
Yep. So I too was trying to get this together before I took off, which is why mine is much shorter. And so I took the short road instead of the long one. So when we were going through our grants to organizations discussion, and then the discussion around the Legion and all of those things, and I had a discussion with the curling club about their money too, which I don't know if anyone knows, but they flooded as well in the midst of all this. So it got me thinking that council has the ability to make a decision to support organizations or not. I think that being fiscally responsible, so saying you can ask for $50,000 within an 8-year time frame, but limiting it. So if you only ask for 20, so I'll use the curling club, for instance. They asked for 25 this time. They are leaving 25,000 on the table, let's say, because you can ask for up to 50. And if we give 25,000 and then next year, so they flooded, what happens if that left damaged beyond, what their means were? They could not come back the next year and say, I know you gave 25 last year, but because of XXX, we're actually not gonna finish the project that we invested in. It would actually says we can't help them again. So I'm wondering if it's of interest to council to say, just take the one time. I was thinking it was 8 years, but I don't think that's what I'm asking. It's the one time.
Yeah.
So you can go back 5 times and ask for $10,000 each time if you so choose as an organization, or, any number of times to the total of $50,000 over the 8 years. Council can determine yes or no, on budgetary restrictions, on whatever the project might be. But we see when our staff come back, when the projects have overrun and they didn't, things, the water on the beacons changed from here. Or some other funding didn't come through, so they had to come back. And so I would just hate to say we gave someone money and then couldn't finish the project because then we gave it and we didn't see it come to fruition. So for me, it was seeing that from start to finish through the end and giving us the ability to not have our hands tied by it saying one time.
Before I go to Councillor Madeira-Voss, this is a council policy, so certainly the group dealing with council policies could choose to put that on their agenda. Okay.
It wasn't relative to council, it wasn't on our list. It's
No,
not on
but
our
it is,
list.
but
It's
that
not
particular grant is a council policy.
It is a
It's
decision,
not-
yes.
We could send it.
We could just send it.
Send it to,
our-
that's an option, because it
we could
is.
possibly-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
I think-
didn't see any other problem with the grant, with the whole policy, other than the one time really did kind of stick it to us in a couple of situations, which is not what we intended it to do. I didn't feel.
Councillor Madeira-Voss?
No, I agree. I like the idea of doing it as within an 8-year scope, you are eligible to apply for a maximum of $50,000 within the 8 years, and then you break it up in whatever. And I think Matt probably does make sense for us to work on the wording at the task force and then bring it back to council for approval. That's
Councillor Ingham?
Yeah, I agree. I'm happy to send it to our council policy task force to discuss it. And I think it's, it's relevant with the curling club and especially the Legion. The Legion didn't come back and ask for any money because they'd already asked for one. So there's well, yeah, but they couldn't, they couldn't get it. So I mean, but then we gave the money for the parking. And so that was sort of an issue that we bent out of side our policy. And so I think maybe this is good timing. Well, it wasn't a policy. Anyway, let's not, so
Let's not really
here's to
negate
go.
that.
Let's put it to, I'm happy to send it to the council task force if people are fine with that.
Is there consensus on that then, that it will send that issue? I think that's where it should land. All right. I don't think we have anything else in the regular council. We do have an in-camera, so could I have a motion to discuss composting? Oh. We directed. Rob has directed that to, he's going to bring it back, right? The composting, that was directed to staff to come back at the next, at a subsequent council.
Okay.
Does it count?
Thank you, through the chair. So what I had said in response to this is that, clearly it's somewhere in its evolution in terms of the pricing and so forth. And I said, I don't want to overpromise and say it's going to be here on June 25th. But I can share with you that the first thing that senior staff will be discussing tomorrow morning at our 9 o'clock staff meeting will be about how do we get the information necessary so council can make an informed decision about moving forward on this. So as soon as we can get it, we will get it here. This is obviously, it's a lot of moving parts. We don't have it. We should have it. So we will get it. So
Thank you. So
Thank you.
unless otherwise, we'll see it on the 25th, or there may be a delay in that, but we understand it's somewhat time sensitive. Right. Could I have a motion to go in camera, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmateer. Second, please. Councillor McKay, all in favor? Aye. We are now in camera, and Rob, I leave it